There are even more amazing secrets hidden in the God of War Ragnarok gameplay reveal trailer, as well as some amazing discoveries made by the community and an update on those new shields we saw thanks to game director Eric Williams. We will cover all that in this video, so if you're excited for God of War Ragnarok, would be awesome if you could leave a like on this video. And let's go! So the first thing I want to do is to go back to a point Jordan made in our previous analysis of the trailer, pointing at Freyas Sword as a potential weapon for us to use. Or maybe, like RJ in the comments under our previous video noted, it might be a weapon for Atreus instead. Now some of you in the comments noted that they believe this weapon is the Sword of Summer, also known as the Sword of Freyr, who was Freya's brother. And she was already carrying a sword in the first game, but this one is definitely different, and an interesting fact about this weapon is that it was capable of fighting on its own. Now we know from the last game that Freya has lost her warrior spirit and is unable to physically hurt anyone, yet we see her jump at Kratos and Atreus with a sword in hand. So maybe her brother handed her the sword to work around the curse? I mean, it sounds like a pretty good loophole to exploit, and since Freyr has been established as an existing character in the game already, I think it's not too far-fetched that he handed his sword to Freya so she could fight. And now that we're on a Freyr related topic, several voice actors have confirmed that Valkyries will be returning to the game. Erica Lindbeck and Yvonne Elizabeth Friedman have confirmed that they will play two new Valkyries, Hrist and Gna. Now in God of War 2018, the Valkyries had their own side story and an amazing boss fight if you were up to the challenge, but with Freya, the former queen of the Valkyries until Odin took her wings, taking the center stage, she might call on some old allies to help her out, which means that the Valkyries might be a part of the main story this time around. And we know that she is looking for her wings, by the way. Mimir confirms this after you've completed the main story, so maybe her Valkyrie sisters are helping with that. This does not mean that they are coming back in the same context as the previous title, however, so we don't know if they'll be a boss fight or just a character in the story. I do hope we get to fight them again though. The Valkyries were some of my favorite fights in the entire game. Another thing that was revealed to us thanks to voice actors on Twitter is the inclusion of the Einherjar, as Anna Brisbane, Laura Stahl and Aaron Phillips have all confirmed that they will be voicing them, or some of them at least, in God of War Ragnarok. Now again, this is something that is mentioned by Mimir in the first game. They are warriors that are sent to Valhalla, which will serve as Odin's army when Ragnarok arrives, which we know will be in the game. So I guess this means Odin is sending his full might against us if these show up. And that has me thinking, this shot from the trailer where a warrior steps out from what looks to be the Bifrost, could that be our first look at these powerful Norse warriors? And speaking of the Bifrost, I want to point out something that was first noted by God of War YouTuber Captain Cuba. He mentioned in his analysis of the trailer that Kratos is no longer wearing the Bifrost crystal on his belt, which was essential to travel between the realms in God of War 2018. And yeah, I went back to the trailer to check if it was visible in other shots, but I can't seem to find it, even though the other elements like the knife and pouch are still there. So safe to assume then that some events cause us to lose it and then we have to find a new way to travel between the realms. I mean, we could already guess that the realm tower in the Lake of Nine wasn't going to be available anymore, as we know the lake is completely frozen over, which means that it will be pretty much impossible to turn the bridge even for someone as strong as Kratos. And we mentioned Captain Cuba's interview with Eric Williams and Cory Barlog in our previous video too, but there was another important part of information revealed in that interview that will be especially pleasing to longtime fans of the series. Williams mentioned that a lot of the team felt that they had not utilized the full potential of the Blades of Chaos in the 2018 reboot, as you only got them pretty late into the game. We already saw in this first gameplay trailer that the movesets for both the Leviathan Axe and the Blades have been greatly expanded, as we also noted in our previous video, which we will link to at the end of this one. But what you might not know is that a lot of these new moves for the Blades will be taking inspiration from the first God of War trilogy. We already saw a new type of grapple in the gameplay trailer, which was clearly inspired by Kratos' grapple from the Greek God of War trilogy. The idea here was, according to Williams, to go through the greatest hits of what we didn't get to and bring those back. Now another YouTuber, John Ford, was also able to interview Cory and Eric, and he asked them about something that we were also really curious about too, the new shields that we saw in the trailer. Now Eric didn't go too much into detail, but there is still something very interesting to be learned from his response. Here's what he said.
Will the Guardian shield be more customizable, and in what ways?
Well, first off, good eye that you noticed that. We were trying to keep that a little like under the radar, but you can't sneak anything past these guys. I don't want to go too deep on it, but yes, there are different shields and they have different defensive options and abilities. And the reason why we're doing this is we really want to open up the expressive choice to the way that you build your Kratos, like the equipment and loadout and things like that. So all the way down to the defense, you can, kind of play a little differently, and then enemies know how to respond to that or force you into these different situations where you need to use different things. So I think it'll be fun for players to explore that, but also just kind of like we want it to be more expressive, where your choices matter when you set them up.
And when retweeting this interview, Santa Monica noted the topic as changes to the Guardian shield as well, so that confirms that there will be changes for the shield when compared to the first game. But that isn't the only thing, because to me it sounds like Sony Santa Monica has decided to double down on the build customization element of the game, allowing you to pick your gear to suit different playstyles. We already had different stats on gear in the main game, but most of those were passive bonuses or effects that triggered on specific moves or other actions, whereas what Eric is describing here sounds more like we will be able to choose different types of shields for different playstyles. Maybe that ground slam we see will only be available with larger shields, whereas the smaller oval-shaped shield we see later will have a larger parry window to create for a more reactive playstyle. I'm just spitballing here, but of course let us know your take in the comments too. And that is all the new information we were able to find on God of War Ragnarok. As soon as we learn more about the game, we will of course let you know here, so subscribe to miss nothing, and if you want you can watch our previous video on God of War Ragnarok where we discuss more things we found while analyzing the gameplay reveal. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.